Some kind of recognition. No one? Everybody?
Like most.
It's camp, right?
All right. So it's time to get started. This is the Flame Award event. Feel free to come in and have a seat. I see a lot of people milling around with glasses in their hands, so they're probably a little more drinking than sitting going on right now. Before we get started, I want to thank, actually I want to thank this man right here in the front row, Dave Sampson. I want to thank AJA, our sponsor and partner. Thank you so much, AJA, for sponsoring this event. And there's a little surprise later in the evening for the winner of the Flame Award, because have a little word with Dave. There's some special goodies for that individual. There's a goodie bag for that person. So thanks again to AJA. Before we dive into handing out the awards, I think the appropriate place to start would be with Mr. Stig Grumman. So Stig, please come up and say a few words.
Oh, that's the nicest thing anybody said to me, and since the guy patted me down in security. All right. I have notes here.
You're going to hit the notes?
Well, whatever. So I wanted to welcome everybody and thank you for coming out and celebrating with us this culmination of our 20th celebration year for Flame. You know, just to put a fine point on it, it's about 20 years ago, this crazy upstart company in Montreal came out with this crazy upstart product called Flame. And without getting too carried away, it kind of changed everything. It changed a lot. And so we're so thrilled that you've been able to come and join us here to do that celebration. And as many of you know, it was this time last year that we came and showed you the 20th anniversary version of Flame. And the point of that was to make sure that we could be having this celebration about 20 years from now. And not unlike the first version of Flame.
Yes.
And not unlike some of the significant versions that came along the way.
Yes.
There were some bumps.
Some serious
there were some bumps
milestones.
with that. But it was critical to us that there would be a version of Flame, this 20th anniversary version of Flame, that would be relevant and meaningful to everybody, like I said, for the next 20 years. So I want to thank everybody who participated in helping us address a lot of those bumps that were identified when we came out with that 20th anniversary edition. Does that make sense, Bill?
Yeah, it's a challenge.
Do you want to build on that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's quite a challenge to rebuild an application from the ground up And that's what they did. And
Yeah.
it's an amazing achievement. And we actually have validation from Ulik Tarkanov, who I hope Ulik is here.
Is Ulik here?
There he
There's
is.
Ulik.
Yeah,
Thank
who
you, Ulik.
is a young guy who was on an SGI system when he started. He went through the 4x3 to 16x9 and now to the 20th anniversary. And he says it was a great move for them and at Hectic Electric. And I think for all our customers, I think it's just, with all these changes, there's a lot of learning curve and
Absolutely.
adaptation that needs to happen. But you come out the other side better.
Absolutely. So thank you for that, Ulik. And so what we want to do, so now here we are, we're going to celebrate this, this 20th, the culmination of this 20th anniversary year. We're here to celebrate the community and all the fantastic artists whose creativity continues to blow our socks off and amaze us and thrill us. And so what I'd like to do now is turn things over to a wonderful friend of Flame, somebody who is nearby, and so I'd like you to join me in welcoming our next special guest, who is the co-founder of FX Guide, of FX PhD, a man who really needs no introduction in our industry. I can't thank him enough for joining us tonight and paying tribute to the wonderful last 20 years and the wonderful last 20 years of fantastic artistry by our Flame artists. With that, let me turn it over to John Montgomery.
Thanks so much, Stig. Appreciate it. So yeah, I thought I'm a big fan of the Flame community, obviously. It's been something that's with me from when I first learned about Flame. And if you don't know, it's obviously had a strong input to my career path and everything over the years. So what I thought I'd talk about is why I feel the community is strong, kind of through the eyes of what's happened to me to get me here at IBC. And I'm not talking about my flight, but obviously the years that I've been doing it, working on Flame. So like many people back when Flame came out, I was doing compositing on a D1 system on a switcher with digital disc recorders. And when I saw Flame, I realized kind of the end was near for that. I mean, it was something I really, really wanted. And like a good Flame artist, I went in and demanded to Rick, the owner of Avenue Edit, that I wanted a Flame. I knew I fit the bill then of a Flame artist, I think, by demanding such a thing. Kind of embarrassed by that now, looking back. But eventually, I did get one. But before I got that, I started spending a lot of time on Flame News, which I think was kind of new back then for those of us, especially coming from the background in the video switcher world. We never really had contact with anyone else who was using it. And the listserv that was Flame News was really amazing to me. I mean, I remember logging on, learning Flame, and asking questions of people on Flame News. And here's this punk from Chicago asking these frankly stupid questions. And really getting a great response from people sharing their knowledge and helping me get up to speed on the software. And it's something I certainly hadn't seen before. And it's really amazing that that is actually still going on today. I mean, there's a lot more of that going on in the world at large, but the fact that Flame News is there and the Flame community is so strong is something pretty amazing to me, actually. And it wasn't just the users, actually, that was interesting about it. It was actually that link to the dev team in Montreal. It was incredible to me that you could actually get a hold of the people who are actually writing the code and writing the software and give feedback. And the fact they'd actually fucking listen to you about it, actually. That was actually the amazing part. It was like, that was really, really amazing. So I started on Flame, and I realized I was kind of, that was early, but still in that time frame, I was pretty much a young user compared to the length of time Flame had been out. And I was shocked that there wasn't a searchable archive of old Flame News messages. They had all this listserv, but no record of anything in the past. So I had this idea, and little did I know what this idea would mean for me, of starting a searchable Flame News archive. And one of the users on the list actually had an archive from day one of everything. So in Chicago, I had a Power Mac PC clone in my house, running off a 28.8 modem, hooked up FileMaker Pro, loaded everything in, and created this searchable archive. I think violating all the terms of service of internet at that time. I'm sure we weren't allowed to do that. And it actually worked. And I specifically remember one night I got up, drink of water, was probably out drinking all night or something, and it was 3 a.m. and the hard drive was just nonstop churning, looking, searching through stuff, and I'm like, man, give it a rest. It's like 3 in the morning. What's the deal? Well, I got up the next day and looked at the logs, and it was actually someone in Japan, I think it was, searching, and I'm like, you know, there's something about this internet thing that's kind of cool. The fact that you could have this influence on people not just on the list, but frankly all around the world via the web, and that was kind of pretty new at the time, I think. And through that, I kind of became a little bit known on Flame News as the guy who had the mail server archive. And so I got together, I met Mike Seymour for the first time at NAB at a Flame User Group. Again, a kind of a community event around the industry. I'd met Jeff before, and we decided to kind of get together and start FX Guide. And I found this on the web archive. It's not all there, but this is the first FX Guide site back in 1999, I think. And note that the UI even had the little flame buttons over on the left that lit up depending upon what you had selected. But it was basically started as a place where people shared tips and tricks, people from the community. It wasn't just us, it wasn't just Mike, Jeff, and myself. But you have all these people, and look at the dates, 99, 1,000. You recognize some of the people here who are actually nominated as well. And over time, obviously, FX Guide has grown, but you know, the tips and the community part has always been a strong part of our site. And even today, you can find those tips over to FX PhD, like brilliant ones of if using 472 with DVEs and camera. So you can look back and see blasts in the past and old ways of doing the software, which is actually pretty cool. So we did this for a while. And I got involved in the beta program, and I highly recommend for those of you who aren't in the beta program and have a bit of a stomach for issues, I can say, to really get involved with it. Because number one, it's a great way to steer the software, helps guide the software. At times, you feel like you're working for friggin' Autodesk because you have to fill bug reports and rep steps and things like that. But in the end, overall, it's incredibly rewarding. And so I got to be friends with Martin Ali at the time, who was leading Flame. And he came down to Chicago, and Mike and Jeff were there to squash some bugs or something like that. And we started talking, and we decided to come up with this idea of doing live training. Oh, wait, actually, this is actually the first FX Guide site running. It was on my boss's PowerBook G4 that actually dropped on the floor when I took it home to install like streaming software so you could search certain sites for videos. But we started FX Guide Live, and again, it was about sharing tips and tricks with the community. And it wasn't just Jeff, Mike, and myself who took part in those. It was run right before the Discrete Users Group. Tremendous turnout from artists all around the world. But you'll notice we have people who are part of the community, other artists. It wasn't simply us. You'll recognize a couple people, a young Philippe Suero. Also helped us out because his background is also as a user. I mean, he's a former Inferno user at Laboratoire Claire in Paris. And he helped us out with the excitement of what it was like behind the scenes. But he helped us out. So again, it wasn't just us, but it was actually people volunteering their time to help share information and knowledge. And we did really, you know, several years of this was really well received by the community. And kind of as we look back, these are the attendees at the event. Just case in point to the worldwide community, people who traveled to Las Vegas, and that's Jeff, of course. We'll look back through some cool images from FX Guide. And when I was running FX Guide, I was in discussions to move to another company in town, actually, a significant pay raise. And I was kind of meeting with them, meeting with the owner, and they said, you know what, you're going to have to actually stop doing FX Guide. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, we can't have you sharing your information. That's like not good for our business. And first of all, I wasn't sharing all my information. But more importantly, I didn't realize what you get back in return through that community. It was really, really amazing over time because I remember one specifically, we had like a $200,000 job. I pulled a couple all-nighters, and it was 4 in the morning. Clients were coming by at 8, and I couldn't get a hold of my sysadmin. You remember red frames in the software? I had some red frames and didn't know what to do with that. But luckily, there was someone online, because it was daytime in London, and a sysadmin in London actually logged into my machine, helped me out, fixed my problem for me, and I was able to ship and complete the job for my client, which is that's an unusual story, but to me, a really tangible example of the stuff that comes back to you when you share and be part of a community. Of course, the user groups are a big part of that, as I mentioned. Lots of fun in it. That was an especially fun part when they did tech demos, yes, showing up. And that's if you could see that slide. JF jumping out of a cake. But the Q&A session, this is another thing that the company always did when that's listening to their users. I'm sure it was a dicey time for all these guys up on stage, but they would answer, beads of sweat coming down their face, answer sometimes tough questions as part of the audience. And again, way that the company and the software has always been open to listening to the community. User group is actually one thing I wish to bring back as part of NAB, frankly. But again, the trade shows and meeting people and other artists, the kind of networking that we do at those shows is always great. I had the opportunity to actually go to Japan as well, which is really cool, my first visit to Tokyo. And I literally kept them all on edge during my presentations as part of that event.
Don't worry, we get that all the time.
So, you know, I mean, again, it was just part of the thing that came for me, in a way, from sharing knowledge with others. I mean, it's a selfish thing that actually got going this trip, but again, just another example of how great it is to be able to share knowledge and be part of the community. And as, like most flame artists, I reached a burnout point working on commercials. I quit my job, no plan in the future. My boss, I just went in and quit. It was like, when's your first day of quit? When do you want to quit? And I'm like, the first day it came into my mind was the first day of the Tour de France, so I could stay home and watch it. That's the kind of mental state I was in. But after some time off, I realized what we wanted to do with Mike Seymour and Jeff is actually start a training site to share knowledge around the world. And that's when we started FX PhD. It was really born of the FX Guide live events and Flame News. I mean, all these things kind of trickled down in my life. And since that point, we've done more flame and smoke training than anyone else out there, I think you could say. And like a lot of other artists who burn out, I had this idea of starting my own company, which is you see that all around the room here, at trade shows, a lot of artists starting their shops centered around flame. Now, I didn't actually do that. I partnered with some guys, but I became a business owner. And it's really interesting to go from the other side of the seat to owning a system. You start understanding, you know, you can make money on flame. I mean, it was really successful for me at the time. You just have to logically look at it as business, figure things out. The dirty secret for me was finding out that I was the most expensive part of the equation, the artist, not the software, I think. And so, again, over time, FX PhD has grown, FX Guide has grown, but we're all still involved with Flame. I own the Flame. I just upgraded to Flame Premium last year myself. Mike has a system down in Sydney. Jeff is still using it at DD in Los Angeles, working on commercials. So we're still very, very much Flame users, Flame artists, part of the community. What's really cool, though, now is I think we're seeing a renaissance of sorts in the community. And you have people like Jerome who started the Facebook page, which is pretty cool. I think there's some interesting aspects of this. I think people are a little more open, say, on Facebook than they are in Flame News about sharing their feedback. In New York City, Andy Milkus and Tim Crane actually started on their own a Flame user group, which is amazing. I talked to a lot of artists who went to that and said it was fantastic. And I'm actually going to start, I just moved out to LA myself, so I'm actually going to start a user group in LA, a Flame user group in LA later this year, which is going to be great. And again, now, as Stig talked about and Bill, you're seeing still a lot of really strong support of Flame from Autodesk. I'm not actually privy to actual number of people working on it in Montreal, I'll say, so this could be totally wrong, I'll say. But it seems like there's a really solid commitment. And if not, it's probably increased in size in the number of people actually working on the software. And I think that's a real case in point. That's one of the things that made me feel like I wanted to upgrade to Flame Premium. And yeah, we've seen a lot of dramatic changes in the software over the years. But I think this process that frankly has been really tough on us as artists, I think is really been critical to make it modern. Update the processing software to support new things. And you're already seeing a year after the anniversary edition was announced that, number one, they've addressed a lot of the concerns that I personally brought up, I think, in some articles or podcasts on FX Guide. And you're seeing some of the benefits of a modern architecture moving forward. So I think that future is really bright. And they've delivered on what they've said. It's been a massive undertaking. And what's really reassuring to me, and I asked Philippe about this, and there's an FX Guide TV app that's coming up tomorrow covering the release, is that now, as they've been doing this, there are a lot of creative tools that are getting added to other software applications. But Philippe says they're starting to now transfer some of the dev team over to start working on those creative tools that we know we've heard on Flame News, other places that we're really yearning for. And from my standpoint, and I know your standpoint, show me the tools, because I think they'll happen. I'm really excited about that moving forward, and I think we're going to see great things coming up. But we're here again to talk about the Flame Award winner and the community. And the community is a community of artists. So this whole thing was started by Autodesk, but was basically led by us. They opened up the discussion of who should be nominated by sending out requests for nominating people, and came up with a great list. So those came from the users. Next, they opened it up to a round of voting from users as well, and had a great response to that, to help do that, or to help figure out who should be in that final list. And they narrowed it down. We got it narrowed down to, I think, half a dozen people, I think, as well. And we have Sheena, of course, who's been a long-time Flame artist. Jake, a good friend of mine, also a long-time Flame artist. Gilles, who's a fantastic artist, and now, I think, leading the division at Mirkos, I think. And then, of course, Sting, as we call him at Effects Guide, but obviously it's Philippe Suero. That's our nickname for him, being from the FX Guide Live events. But it was a really, really difficult process. I mean, I think any of the people nominated could justifiably be called a Flame Award winner. I have a new found respect for people who do awards and give out awards and things like that, because it's a really difficult process. But Autodesk did help make it easy with some guidelines make it easier, I should say, with some guidelines. And these are those, pushing the boundaries of VFX creation, have a really deep technical knowledge of Flame. Flame community involvement over the years, helping others, sharing tips, or just guiding the community in general. And is recognized, this person needs to be recognized as a leader and expert in the field. And all these things, I think, again, speak to talented artists, helping the community. And frankly, I think a strong user community makes Flame as a software product even stronger overall. And again, it might sound easy, but when it came down to it, it was really different. Took a couple rounds, taking people off the list one by one, just because there was so much amazing work done by each of the nominees. But we did end up with one unanimous winner. Well, I should actually say we do have one winner of the award, but we do have some extra special recognitions awards to give out, because there are some people out there who it seemed like deserve some kudos for what they had contributed to the industry through their artistry or involvement in the field. So enough of me talking here. Let's get on to the meat of the presentation and start with the special recognitions.
John, that was really amazing. I don't think Lisanne's going to be happy, but after that, I just have to give you the award. Wait a minute. You were the one on the selection committee.
The selection committee, a.k.a. those who weren't nominated.
You guys were. You would have been nominated, believe me. You meet all the 4 criteria for sure. Thank you, John.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, John. Really, really appreciate your words. Okay, so with that was amazing, right? I mean, and again, think of what John has done for the community. I mean, FX Guide changed everything in terms of building a community. Excuse me? Well, don't forget, of course, Jeff and Mike. Yeah, they're the 3 amigos. But John, I mean, seriously, you deserve a lot of credit. All right, so now it's time to start giving out some awards. I did want to say, though, that as John mentioned, there's only one winner. We had 30 nominees. You saw the graphic earlier. We're going to play that back again. 30 nominees worldwide. There were some amazing people that were brought forward, and it was a very difficult decision, to the point where we decided that we needed to give out some special recognition awards as well. So we're going to go through a series of those. We have 7 special recognition awards. So I want to start by bringing up Philippe Suero to give out the first one. And he's not really known as Sting in our world. He's Picard. So
go figure. Hey guys, how are you doing? Yes, this is an evening about really you guys, much more so than the product.
There's no demo tonight.
There's no demo tonight. There's no me telling you how great the 20th anniversary release is, even though I
There's no
absolutely
triangle.
think it. There's no triangle. There's no esoteric concept that I'm going to share with you today. We leave that for the private demos, by the way. So anyway, so I'd actually so this first special recognition, as I said, as you mentioned, it's been an interesting exercise to kind of narrow down, and so we immediately actually, or very quickly, it came out that we needed to actually have some special recognitions because of just the very impressive list of people that we had in front of us. And so the first special recognition pertains to pioneering work in Flame. And so it's a person actually that I got to visit recently in London in February. And you know what? He's been around for a very long time, won multiple awards. And he has actually embraced the 20th anniversary release surprisingly early. It was very much of a humbling experience to actually meet with him and actually see how fast, and I thought it was a great example to see that it didn't mean that even though you'd been around for such a long time that you couldn't actually very quickly adopt something. So fantastic experience for me to actually be in front of somebody like that, who actually said, "Yeah, I think it's going in the right direction." Had to happen. Sorry. Okay.
Did you guys have any Jedi mind tricks you played on each other?
No. So so I'm talking about somebody actually who did a lot of things for the community. Actually had a lot of awards and started actually in editing, making his way as a flame artist. Was the co-founder of Smoke and Mirrors, one of the co-founders of Smoke and Mirrors. By the way, he does not know that he's actually getting a special recognition, and I'd like, please, you guys to welcome John Hollis. I know he's in the audience. I was just talking to him. John.
John. Congratulations. We'd like to take a photograph as well, if you don't mind.
Congratulations, John.
Do we have the photographer here?
We have a photographer.
Oh, okay. There we go. It's not you. Wait. He's running up. There he is. Oh, it's this. You also are a photographer?
Okay, we don't know in which direction to look. Okay.
Go ahead. It's Christiane. You ready?
We're ready, as ever.
You got it? Got it. Okay. All right. So the second award, thanks, John. Thanks, Philippe. The second award, I actually had the honor of giving this out, and it's also the second award for pioneering work in Flame. And this particular nominee was actually one of the first developers of the software, so he goes way back. He has what we call the innate ability to think in Flame. His mind thinks the same way as the software does. He was actually recognized a lot for his originality, his ability, his creativity, his adaptability, and you've probably seen many of his visual effects that he's created over the years. He was also a co-founder of Smoke and Mirrors. Remember, the first post-production house in the world that was fully flame-only house, and gosh, that was in the early days. It had to be like 94, John. I'm trying to remember when you guys, maybe 94, 95. And then, of course, he inspired and influenced and coached and mentored many, many flame artists over the years, as John did as well. His name is Sean Broughton, and unfortunately, he's not here tonight, so I will accept on his behalf. Sean actually lives in New York. I bump into him all the time. He's a wonderful guy, so I will bring his certificate back to New York with me and share that with him. So congratulations to Sean and John. All right, so the next award, I'm actually going to bring up Will Harris. So Will's actually on my team. And he's going to present the Artistic and Technical Achievement Award.
Thank you, Bill. Yes, I have a great honor here to present this to a person who I think it's fair to say that if I could have possibly planned my career in this business, I would have done it exactly like this guy did it. He started a post facility in his early 20s, I believe.
Yes, very young guy.
And has been using the flame for 17 years. He tries stuff that we would all wish we could do with the flame, and sometimes has called me, and I really don't know how to solve his problem, but he still figures out how to do the job.
Yes.
To be quite honest. But an awesome artist, done some amazing work in commercial, music video, film work, as well as purely artistic projects, such as a recent collaboration with an artist named Marco Brambilla, I believe it is. I'm honored to know this guy who still today runs as a creative director and a owner in a facility called Entropic. You know who I'm talking about. His name is Nate Robinson in New York, LA, and San Francisco. So I'm going to be coming to see you, Nate, wherever you are, and I'll bring this to you personally. Thank you very much.
Yes, Nate is an amazing artist. I actually saw that art piece. It was done in stereo. It was amazing. I saw it in a church in Soho, New York. Crazy, crazy piece. All right, next person I want to bring up for the next award is Maurice Patel. Maurice, there he is. Tell us who you are, Maurice.
Hi,
give
everyone.
a little context.
Hi, I'm Maurice Patel. I started out in the industry in '95 on Media Illusion and Advance. I've seen like every compositing system.
I used to
under
see
the
your
sun,
demos. I
rise
was
and
impressed.
fall. And actually, the next person basically inspires me and instills deep fear into me.
Okay.
And I never want to be on the receiving end of one of his
Steak?
interviews.
Okay.
No,
Oh,
well, that
okay.
too, yes. This guy has a deep technical knowledge. He likes to push really hard, and at Autodesk, we welcome the challenge. I mean, when he does an interview, he goes for the details. This person really likes to share his knowledge. And one of the things which I find very, very inspiring about the person that I'm going to announce is that not only does he show no fear in dealing with a company like Autodesk and getting the truth out of us, but he likes to share that with his audience in very detailed technical articles which look at what goes on behind the scenes in a corporation, how technology is developed, how technology is used. He shares it with the community. He's part of a team that does this, but the other thing is that we've worked with them for a really long time, and now I'm going to kind of spill the beans, and you probably guess who it is. But John showed you earlier the collaboration we've had across the years in terms of offering training, offering these skills, and sharing them through not only the user events, but through FX PhD. It's been a very inspirational part of my career, working with this team, bringing knowledge to a broader audience, making sure that this knowledge gets shared, making sure that people learn the skills that they need more efficiently, more easily. Ultimately, we want to share that passion and that creativity with everyone that wants to learn, and he's been a fundamental part of this process. And of course, the person I'm talking about is Mike Seymour.
Yes, Mike Seymour. And I'd like to ask John to come up and accept on Mike's behalf. There would be no one more appropriate to accept. If you wouldn't mind, Christiane's going to grab a photo. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. And congratulations to Mike. And I'll take the mic back. All right. So the next person I'd like to bring up is Dave Sampson from AJA.
It's almost like I never left.
It's the perfect time. It's the perfect time to thank AJA again for sponsoring this event. Thank you very much, Dave.
It's our pleasure. This is really cool. Thanks, guys. I've known this guy for a long time, and he's an uber talented artist. This is the Versatility Using Flame Award. He's an uber talented artist and a great guy. Even more old school gangster than I am. I think he got started like 92 or something like that.
I'm going to have to translate that for this crew.
His work, I think, has been nominated, 11 times, and he's and won like 3 Oscars. And he's done a litany of work, always cutting edge. Great guy. I'd like to say congratulations to my buddy Sam Edwards. Where are
Sam
you?
Edwards.
Not here?
No, he's
there
here.
He is.
Sam, congratulations.
Congratulations, dude.
Please pose for a photo here in the middle. Dave, why don't you get on that
Sure,
side? No,
Yeah,
you on that side. We're going to sandwich him here. So, all right, here we go. A Sam sandwich.
crap.
Perfect. Congratulations, man. And I remember, back in New York, when you started your first company, right? I mean, that was like, what, 1996 maybe? Before?
Yeah.
What year was it?
Well, we got the
Hold on. Where'd my mic go? Oh, there he is.
If I'm not mistaken, we got the Flame in '92,
Okay.
and so it was a second Autodesk system in New York City.
Yeah.
And in 3 or 4 months, we were so slammed we had to upgrade it to a Flame.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Miller, you can remember Miller.
Yeah,
You know,
sure.
sort of put on his cape and
Johnny
helped me
Miller.
get that done. And,
Yeah.
and my wife let me buy a Flame, which was amazing. So
Yeah.
it was great.
Well, and then you've had such an amazing career.
Yeah,
So
thanks so
anyway,
much.
thank you, and take that with you. We'll see you in LA.
Thanks so much.
All right. So with that, I'd like to bring up Mr. Joe Billington. Joe, would you mind coming up? And by the way, I have to embarrass you. We're hours away from your birthday. So happy birthday to Joe. And Joe is really one of our lead artists on Flame worldwide. You are. You've always been like rock solid and also an awesome operator. So
Thanks,
anyway,
man. I hope my
present the
mum's-
next award, which is
hopefully mum's
for.
watching, so
This
that's,
is actually a special award from our global TS team.
Yeah, absolutely. This is kind of a technical award from the kind of the technical side of the sort of operational guys at Autodesk. And we kind of decided there was a lot of people. Obviously, if you're a great Flame guy, a great Flame op, as so many of you are, so many out there and so many people here, it's really difficult to break this down because everyone does great work every day and so on and so forth. There's been a whole bunch of people over the years who have done amazing stuff and who have kind of helped me personally, and I know a lot of the other guys that work in the company who've really kind of benefited from having that kind of technical input. And yeah, we kind of decided on this guy for a multitude of reasons, really. He's been a Flame operator. He's been a company owner. He's been a sort of VFX sort of supervisor. He's done a whole bunch of other stuff. He's won awards for his work at Cannes, places like that. And he's just generally a dude as well, which is more important, I think, in context of everything else that we're talking about here. It's more about, you know, people just being cool. The guy I'm talking about is now a visual effects supervisor at the Mill in New York. Again, from a personal point of view, he's been great to me. He really helped. We did a demo about 4 or 5 years ago. And it was a piece of work done for Philips called Carousel, who a bunch of you probably saw, maybe. I don't know if you didn't. Check it out on YouTube. It's pretty miraculous stuff. And yeah, he did that with us, and really for that kind of reason and for, well, a whole bunch of other stuff. And like I say, just for being a good guy, the Special Technical Specialist Award
That's the one.
goes to Richard Lyons.
Richard Lyons. Now, I don't think Richard's with us. I think he's back in New York, but we'll accept on his behalf. Yeah, Joe will take it on his behalf, and we'll make sure it gets to Richard. So again, Richard, thanks for your amazing work. Carousel still blows my mind. So that's the Technical Specialist Award. There's actually one more award that we decided to give away on special recognition. I'd like to ask John Montgomery to come back up one more time, if he wouldn't mind. I think this was sort of a unanimous selection also by the committee.
Yeah, one of the criteria was the person actually had to be nominated to win the Flame Award. But for this, we decided that there was someone who wasn't nominated that we wanted to recognize, and all of us really strongly felt this way. And this person, in 1991, started working with Gary on the VFX software that was called Flash, that of course later became Flame. He used Flame on the first feature film, Super Mario Brothers, as well as helping other artists on the team actually get up to speed on the software. To this day, he's still active in the field, having served as stereoscopic supervisor on Australia's first feature-length 3D drama or film, Sanctum. But he's also one of those artists on Flame News that I talked about at the beginning of my talk, who was so kind and generous to me in asking questions. He was so helpful answering questions from users around the world. He was the guy who gave me all the Flame News archives. He kept those from day one and actually became the basis of that database I set up. So please join me in congratulating the very first Flame artist in the world with special recognition, Peter Webb.
Peter Webb.
And I think Peter may be watching down in
Yes.
Australia. So congratulations, my friend. You're really
I
a
have to
contribution.
echo your sentiment because Peter, I remember meeting Peter my first 2 weeks on the job in Montreal, and he was so generous. I was so scared to go to NAB. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know why they had hired me. And he said, let me just show you, let's just do this, this, and this. And I followed his lead. So he's an amazing guy, yeah. Absolutely.
Congratulations, Peter.
All right, wonderful. So with that, you can imagine, if you've been counting, we have only one award left, right? So before we give away the award, though, I wanted to tell you a little bit about the background of this statue design. In case you're wondering what this is all about, again, you saw a bit of it in John's presentation. There's a funny story about this, this image. This is actually, if you can believe it, at Discrete Logic, this was the artist in residence. This is Denis Pellerin, or Pellerin, as they say in Montreal. Yeah, see the Quebecois are laughing. Yeah, Pellerin, Julie. And Denny, he was having dinner one night with Diana Sherwood, who took this photograph, and they just got a little crazy. I guess too many glasses of wine, and they came up with this image. And apparently, they ate this fish afterwards. So this is a grouper. Apparently, it was delicious. But I love that. And Denny created some amazing images. In fact, we spent the last week in London, in the London office. And if you walk around the London office, there are many, many beautiful works from him there. So I think you'll have a new appreciation. And when we decided to come up with the award, Lisanne was saying, well, something like an Oscar. And this image just popped in my mind. I said, it's got to be the fish logo. I mean, it's got to be the fish with the fish on his head. So after many redesigns from Craig Barr in our tech marketing team, he actually wanted me to make sure everyone knew that he created this using Autodesk products. So he used our 3D tools to make this. He painted and sculpted it all up in Mudbox and Maya. And anyway, it's really an honor to have this award given out for the first time, I hope the first of many times, to just one individual. And to do that, I'd like to bring up Stig to give this award away. We also talked a little bit about the criteria earlier, so I thought we'd skip that. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's that time, Stig.
It's that time. How awesome was this? How awesome was this? This is a huge privilege for me. So to give out the first ever Flame Award, and let me talk a little bit about the recipient of as you view Denis here, rotating and so forth in 3D. So first thing you need to know is this person was voted on by you heard John describe it, by the Flame community and was selected by the Flame Advisory Board. So kind of both sides of the house. It goes without saying that, you know, you saw all the amazing talent that already came up. I mean, that was pretty amazing. So we're talking about some pretty serious artistry and deep technical knowledge in terms of Flame. And that knowledge and artistry is known throughout the industry. Again, not surprisingly, this individual has already received a lot of recognition from the industry. He's been honored by the AICP, Cannes Lyons, and has received Mobius Awards, to name a few. And from a technology perspective, participated and presented a very sophisticated 3D rig within Action, which was presented at main stage at SIGGRAPH in 2003. Many of you by now have been able to put together, I hope, the pieces. And today, this individual continues to push the limits in terms of Flame and what it can do at his own facility, directing a whole new generation of young artists, and at his new company, the Artery VFX in New York City. Of course, everybody, please join me in recognizing and congratulating Vico. Come on up, Vico Sharabani, our first ever Flame Award winner!
Congratulations, Vico.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, and this award, I mean, yeah, we want to hear from you, but I just wanted to say one more thing about this award. I mean, it really symbolizes for us, I mean, it really commemorates all the history. It's really like celebrating all these artists. I mean, and no one person can accept the award, but from our perspective, it really symbolizes a lot, right? I mean, it's a...
Totally. I mean, wow. Yeah, it means a lot to me. We all spent so much time together, digitally and in person, and it just makes me speechless. I think that next time, if I'm nominated for something, I'll write it down, my speech. But I really want to thank, I think a piece of it, as you said, probably belongs to every Flame artist, every colleague, every business partner, every client that I've ever had. As John said, building up a community and participating in a community was a big thing for me. I was actually one of those people in the crowd in the first FX Guide event, and I remember coming to the States for the first time to seeing an exhibition or a conference, and sitting there and thinking, wow, what they're doing is amazing. And Philippe was there, this French guy that articulated all of his thoughts in very good English, and that also inspired me, and I really promised myself to come back every year and share my development experience, be as articulate and learn English to be able to communicate those thoughts and ideas. So I really want to thank to all of the people that I worked with throughout the years, and especially my partner now at the Artery VFX, Ifat Niv, who's my executive producer for 18 years, and probably my wife Tamar and my kids Mika and Ori. They've been impacted a lot by this crazy hobby I call work.
Don't forget your brother.
My brother, dear Flame artist, yeah, definitely we work together at a lot of family dinners,
yeah,
and sketching out different axes and thinking different expressions. So thanks very much for this.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much,
Thank
everybody.
you. Thank you. Wow. I'm getting a little emotional here. With that, we're going to kind of conclude our Flame first ever Flame Award event, and we'd like to open up the bar, invite everyone to have a drink and socialize with all the Autodesk folks. We've got Philippe here. There's a lot of people to talk to, and have a great IBC. Thanks a lot.